Now, let's try and understand the system of elections in India. That is the various processes which are involved in the contesting of elections. First of all, the most important is that a notification is given by the President of India for the forthcoming elections. After the notification, it's the Election Commission of India which gives a schedule of the elections for various states and constituencies. After that comes the filing of nomination. That is, various candidates of various political parties file in their nomination to the forthcoming elections to the Election Commission of India. After that, the political parties give out the election manifesto to the people. That is the terms, the promises, what all they are going to do once in power. That's called the election manifesto. It comes out immediately after their candidates have filed in the nominations. Next is the secret ballot, meaning to say people then on the voting day go and cast their vote in secret ballots and nobody comes to know as to for whom they have voted. Then comes out the results of the election, and if anybody is not happy with the elections, that is they feel that some unfair means rigging was adopted, then he can appeal to the court for re-elections. So that's the process of election in India. But now let us try and understand in more detail as to what all happens in the country, how the country gets divided, how the people vote, what all into details. So, first thing that we will understand is electoral constituencies. Now, electoral constituencies simply means dividing the country on the basis of election so that the people can vote in for their MLAs and MPs. That is, first of all, we already have the division of the country into states, and then the states get further divided into various constituencies. For example, it could be 90 or 100 from wherein they elect their representatives. That is, the people of that particular area elect one person as their representative. So, that particular area becomes the electoral constituency of that particular person who gets elected, and he is responsible for his voters. So, when you are dividing the country on the basis of contesting elections, it's called as electoral constituencies. Further, there are certain reserved constituencies. Now, when the division has already been made on the basis of area, political area, constituency, there are some people who are downtrodden, who've been oppressed since ages, and they do not get the chance to contest elections. Then they are given special privileges, and that is in the form of reserved constituency. That is, various constituencies are reserved for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes so that they can get contested and they can have their own real representation in the parliament. So, when some people, because they lack in education, money or other areas, cannot get themselves represented in the simple electoral constituencies, then the government makes an extra effort of providing reserved constituencies for those particular groups. And it's a good thing because everybody gets a proper representation, otherwise which would be difficult in electoral constituencies if there was nothing as reserved constituency. Well, this is also called as the voters list. If they can be proxy voting if we are not sure as to who are the genuine voters. So, it's the duty of the election commission to actually go from door to door to find out as to if the real person exists at that particular address. So, when you are trying to actually find out the genuineness, the real voters, you prepare in the voters list. In the voters list, your name, your parents' name, your address, your residential address, your office address and other identities are verified by the Election Commission of India, and then in the recent years the voters have been given election photo identity card, which makes it more authentic to see if the real voter is getting to vote because of the photo identity card. So, this is a big and important part of election because the people voting for true representation should also be true. It cannot be that you are actually holding elections to get true representation, but the people who are voting are in fact fake. So, to find out the real population residing in that area, we need to have a proper voters list prepared by the Election Commission of India. Now, the next feature is of the nomination of the candidates. That is, before they contest the election, they need to give information about themselves to the country at large so that the people know for whom are they voting. They need to make everything public about themselves, that is, come closer to their voters, and actually the voter realizes that is he worth contesting election and winning it. So, when he is filing his nomination, he needs to give in clearly, that is in black and white, if any criminal case is pending against him in the court of law. Then he has to tell about his and his family's assets and liabilities. He also has to fill in about his educational qualifications. When all such details are known about a candidate, it is very easy for a voter to vote in favor or against that candidate. So, filing in of the nomination by the candidates as advised by the Supreme Court of India, it becomes easier for us to understand the person whom we are going to give the country, who is going to rule on our behalf, who is going to be our representative. Well, the election campaign begins after nomination, as I said. So, in these campaigns, the candidate tries his best to please in his voters. It could be in form of attractive election manifesto. He could be holding meetings. He could be going from door to door. There could be posters all around. There could be promises. There could be so many other things by which a candidate tries to lure his voters to vote in his favor. And the Election Commission of India gives him all the rights to actually campaign in his favor. And and this seems to be his actual thing that by which he tries to win the support of his people. Various leaders and political parties have tried to lure their voters by giving various slogans. And if I talk about some of them, they are Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the Prime Minister of India, during the general elections of 1971, gave the slogan of Garibi Hatao. Then it was Janata Party in the next election of 1977, gave the slogan of Save Democracy. Then the Left Front in the Bengal Assembly election of 1977 gave the slogan of Land to the Tiller. Then we have N.T. Ramarao, who in the Andhra Assembly election of 1983 gave the slogan of Protect the self-respect of the Telugus. So if you try and understand, it is just that these people are trying to pick up a very sensitive or an issue which is very close to their voters. So by that strategy, by that method, they try and win the elections, try to win the support of the voters, and this in fact is called as election campaigning. To hold free and fair elections in India, there is an election law in the country. According to the election law, first of all, the person who is contesting the election should not bribe or threaten its candidates. Second is, the person who is contesting the election cannot appeal the voters to actually cast vote in the name of religion or caste. Then the government resources cannot be used by any candidate during election campaigning, and a limit has been set. For example, 25 lakh rupees can be spent by a candidate in a Lok Sabha election, whereas 10 lakh rupees can be spent by a candidate for an assembly election, not more than that. So, for holding free and fair elections, we have to understand no bribing, no threatening, no appealing on the basis of caste and religion, not to use the government resources, and not to use more money than the one which has been given by the Supreme Court of India, the directions. Well, besides this, there is another thing which is called as the Model Code of Conduct made by the political parties of India. The Model Code of Conduct is very, very important. According to this, no political party or candidate can use a place of worship for campaigning. No government vehicles can be used during election campaigning. And as soon as the announcement is made of the elections, after that, no minister can lay foundation of any public facility, which means that he cannot lure the voters by doing such things because he is in power. So, these are the essential things which are there in the Model Code of Conduct in India.